Hi, I'm Wayne Hudson coming to you this morning from the Home Grace in Van Cleve, Mississippi. And we have with us today Ronnie Arant. Is that right? Arant?
Arant.
Arant. And he's come to talk with us this morning about his method of counseling. He's a counselor at the Home Grace. And we're looking forward to spending some time with you this morning, Ronnie. And it's good to have you with us.
I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little something about when you first meet one of your clients and how you assess the probability that that client will be successful in our program or not.
Well, one of the first things I look for is if they're honest, because people can come in and tell you anything you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And two, the second thing I look for is their willingness to surrender to the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and their willingness for change.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now, let's just say that 2 weeks later, of course, you see your clients how often?
Once a week.
Once a week, an hour a week.
Well, once a week, but
Yeah, on campus
Yeah.
periodically. I get that, but you have a scheduled counseling session once a week.
Yes.
And that's not all they do all week, is it?
No.
Kind of give a little overview of their schedule throughout the week.
Okay, throughout the week, Monday through Wednesday, they're going to classes.
Mm-hmm.
In our first phase of the program, they'll go to classes in the mornings and then go to work call in the afternoons. And then in second phase, it flips around and they go to class in the afternoon and work in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Thursdays we have workshops. We have workshops ranging from on anger and on rejection and on shame and guilt and on relapse prevention and all this stuff, spiritual gifts, all this stuff that is involved in addiction,
Mm-hmm.
Christ-centered addiction.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And let's say the second week they come in.
Yeah.
And you reevaluate the client, or what do you do on that second session typically?
The second session, our first session, they tell me their life story.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have them write it out after that, because sometimes they forget stuff and they leave it out. But normally within the first session, I determine different areas and stuff that we need to work on or maybe address more. Far as like all the stuff I just named, rejection or anger or stuff in their life that happened that may have led to anger or rejection or all the different stuff we cover.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
And you deal with family issues and
Absolutely.
anything that might have contributed to
Yes.
their addiction.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's just say now you're getting to the mid part of their program, which is week 6 and
Mm-hmm.
7 and somewhere in there. What do you look for at that particular point?
Well, at the mid part of their program, I start looking for one, or have they started to put God and other people before themselves, or they're starting to try to humble themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I start to look for. And also I start to look for the little bitty things sometimes we don't recognize, is are they showing up for everything on time, or they submitting to those in authority over them and stuff like that.
And by that time you kind of have a record of their behavior on campus and that kind of
Yes.
thing, and as to whether or not they're being cooperative.
Yes.
Okay. Now, fast forward one more time
Mm-hmm.
to they're approaching their graduation, which
Mm-hmm.
is around week 12, 13, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you look for at that point?
At that point, I look for their willingness to be willing to accept the fact of to attend recovery groups, accountability partners, as well as establish a church. Maybe they already have a permanent church, or if not, they've explored options with me of certain churches in their area they could go to. And you can kind of tell by their attitude, their willingness to be able to do all these things when they leave here.
So what you're really doing there is you're preparing them for reentry,
Yes.
reentry into society,
Yes.
reentry into their home and the environment back there, right?
Right.
Okay. And then the day of graduation comes. And that's kind of a good news, bad news type situation where you're losing a client. And of course, you're going to gain another one, but to
Yes.
take their place. But at the same time, you built a relationship with that person.
Absolutely.
And so, how do you approach that personally?
Graduation, or just the closing.
Just
how
the closure of.
Well, I always on my clients, I always put my number here at the Home of Grace. They all have that, which goes directly to my office line, and they can leave messages, and I encourage them to contact me, whether they're doing good or even if they start sliding, to call me. Kind of like not necessarily an accountability partner, but an extra accountability, and I encourage that, as well as I also encourage them to stay plugged in with the Home of Grace. I mean, these alumni nights and homecoming, all this stuff, it only works if the alumni that graduate come out and get involved in it.
So by that time, you built a relationship with that person, and you left the door somewhat open so that he can call you and communicate with you ongoing, right?
All right.
Well, great. Ronnie, it's been great being with you today, and I've enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to having you back up again sometime.
It's been my pleasure.
Good. You folks back home, thank you for being with us here on campus at the Home of Grace for a cup of grace. Come back again sometime.